Well, here, real quick.
I think sometimes it's important to do a little bit of reality check and take a little different spin at the numbers. I'm going to do that right here because all we talk about is how unpopular Donald Trump is. But in reality, he's basically more popular than he was at any point in term number one and more popular than he was when he won election back in November of 2024. What are we talking about? His net favorable rating right now comes in at -4 points. Compare that to where he was when he won in November of 2024 when he was at -7 points, or March of 2017 when he was at -10 points. So when you compare Trump against himself,
he's gaining power.
He's actually closer to the apex than he is to the bottom of the trough. And of course, that's so important because Donald Trump has...
I think it's really crazy whenever you take a step back and you think about the fact that this dude lost the election, staged an insurrection on the Capitol, repudiated by everyone in the media, taken off every social media platform, sent into exile, all of his supporters jailed indefinitely. And in 4 years, he came back and he's the president again. That's impressive. It is. That is crazy. 2 shootings, yes, 1 assassination attempt, like a legit one, like literally almost shot him. The second one, they caught the guy. 2 assassination attempts, like fucking 30-something felonies. They were gonna put this guy in jail forever. And the only way he could get out of going to jail was by winning the presidency. And he did. That is a crazy fucking story. I have never heard of a comeback like this ever. That's a movie? Yes, it's insane. And and now he's more popular than ever.
Historically speaking, has had his numbers underestimated. So I think it's very important to compare him to himself to understand he's actually more popular now than he was when he won.
Yep.
Or certainly where he was at this point back in his first term. The bottom line is Trump is more towards the ceiling than he is towards the floor.
So when you do that, it makes my knees hurt.
He's 78 and he's peaking, man. How do you do that?
So when you look at this compared to sort of historically, what does it tell you about the percentage of folks that think the country itself, with him at the helm, is on the right track?
This, I think, is rather important.
There's a lot of
because,
people.
Again, if the polls have historically underestimated Donald Trump, what is a metric that might get at understanding at how popular he may actually be? So let's take a look at the percentage of the country who say that we're on the right track. It's actually a very high percentage when you compare it to some historical numbers. What are we talking about? According to Maris, 45% say that we're on the right track. That's the second highest that Maris has measured since 2009. How about NBC News? 44%. That's the highest since 2004. Wow. The bottom line is the percentage of Americans who say we're on the right track is through the roof. And if you were to compare it to when presidents have historically been reelected, of course, Trump is not constitutionally eligible to run for reelection, but I think it sort of puts it in perspective. 42% of the country.
Well, we'll see about that. The probability of Trump running for a 3rd term is in the double-digit numbers.
Says the country is on the right track when the incumbent party is reelected. And also keep in mind, back when Kamala Harris lost and the Democrats were turned out of
No, it would be his 4th election win, but his 3rd term in office.
power, only about 27 to 28% of the country said the country is on the right track. The bottom line is right now, a much higher percentage of the country says we're on the right track. And finally, Sarah Seidner, I want to put it all in the congressional generic ballot.
What about Congress?
What about Congress? Because those are the folks who are up in 2026. And take a look here. The Dems versus the Republicans on the generic congressional ballot. Back in November of 2020, when Democrats won, it was +5 Democrats. Tied in November of 2022, +1 in November of 2024 when Republicans maintain control. And then you look at March of 2025. This number looks a lot more like 2022 or 2024 when Republicans won control of Congress. The bottom line is, yes, Donald Trump's approval rating is lower than compared to a lot of his predecessors, but it's higher than compared to himself. A lot of folks say the country's on the right track, and the generic congressional ballot looks a heck of a lot more like when Republicans win than when Democrats win.
It will be interesting to see if any of what just happened with these leaking of the text plays into it in a later poll. But
no, I don't think people really care about that. I don't. It was a big fuck up, and they shouldn't have done it, like a massive fuck up. But I don't think that's going to have, like, I can't imagine that people are going to go and make a vote based off of that. I think that they might have, and they might have thought that they fucked up if somehow this sabotaged the raids or the bombings, but it seems like it didn't.
This is very telling.
This is very
it's a
telling.
funny group chat. Yeah, nobody gives a fuck.
Republicans are still in the catbird seat.
Like, I mean, well, that's actually not true. People do give a fuck, but the people that give a fuck are the ones that already didn't like him to begin with. I don't think this is like an issue that moves people in one direction or another.
And it's so easy to do it, and we should go to paper ballots. We should go to one-day voting. We should go to voter ID, and just one other thing, proof of a thing called citizenship in the United States. Wouldn't that be nice? How simple does that sound? Proof of citizenship, voter ID, one-day voting, and paper ballots. You know, paper ballots are very secure. They have watermark paper. It's very intricate stuff. It's very technologically advanced, even though it's paper. And you'd have no trouble. You wouldn't have dishonest elections, and you'd have them all done.
You still have trouble. They tried to start this bullshit in 2000 with Al Gore. They said somebody that had like they called it a hanging Chad. I remember this guy as a kid. And like basically they said, oh, well, if the hole isn't punched out all the way, then it doesn't count as a vote, which is like, in my opinion, just total bullshit. Like, it absolutely should count as a vote.
By 10 o'clock in the evening, you know, France went to that. And not that I want to copy anybody, but many others have also.
It's all computer.
They had
everything's
38
computer.
million votes, and it was all done at 10 o'clock. They had a winner, they had a loser. That was it. Nobody was complaining. And they had it backed up with paper. And it's so easy to do. The other thing, you'd save about, this would cost you about 8% of what the machines cost.
That's a lot of money.
So the paper would be much less expensive. So if you're looking to save some money, that's a good way to save it. So it's a shame
so you just
that we've gone through it. We've gone through a
ballots.
bad election, really bad election. The election was so bad. And think of it. You wouldn't have had the October 7th disaster.
We already know what the next 10 minutes are going to be, right? Yeah, we know. Some say it was the worst election ever.